Trustee Carney, will you please convene the Committee on Campus Planning, Building and Grounds?
Thank you, Chair Kimball. Will the meeting of the Committee on Campus Planning, Buildings and Grounds please come to order? The only item on the consent agenda today are the minutes of the March meeting. Does anyone want to remove the minutes for discussion? Seeing none, does anyone object to the approval of the minutes? Seeing no objection, the minutes are approved. We have one item on this discussion agenda today. It's an information item. It's an update to the California Environmental Quality Act report. This item will be presented by Steve Relier, Executive Vice Chancellor and Chief Financial Officer, and Vi San Juan, Assistant Vice Chancellor for Capital Planning, Design, and Construction. Steve, would you please begin?
Thank you, Chair Carney. Today's presentation provides an overview of the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, the roles and responsibilities of the Board of Trustees in considering CEQA actions, and the types of support available to campuses in the area of CEQA. For your information, Attachment A on the agenda item includes a summary of CEQA changes, and Attachment B includes a list of projects approved by or on behalf of the board between the reporting period of July 2017 and June of 2020. The CSU is committed to being a responsible steward of the lands and environmental resources under its ownership, and compliance with CEQA is part of that commitment and a very key part of that commitment. Assistant Vice Chancellor for Capital Planning, Design, and Construction, Vi San Juan, will present the report. Vi?
Thank you, Executive Vice Chancellor Relier. CEQA was signed into law in 1970 to prevent and minimize damage to California's environment through consideration of construction project alternatives, mitigation measures, and monitoring. The two key areas of campus development that are typically presented for board approval and consideration are revisions to campus physical master plans and the approval of schematic designs for campus major projects. On occasion, the Board of Trustees is also required to certify environmental documents prepared by other lead agencies for projects for which the trustees are a responsible agency under CEQA, and this was done for the Environmental Impact Report prepared by Placer County in connection with the future Sacramento State Placer Center. CEQA is intended to inform decision makers and the public regarding potential significant impacts of projects prior to consideration of project approval and efforts to prevent significant avoidable damage to the environment. There are several types of CEQA documents. The type of document is determined by the type of project, the anticipated project impacts, and whether the impacts can be mitigated to a less than significant level. Typically, a building remodel or utility project will be exempt from CEQA, while a campus master plan to increase the enrollment ceiling will require an environmental impact report, or EIR. An EIR is completed when potential, unavoidable, significant environmental impacts are identified. Under CEQA, a lead agency is the public body with a principal responsibility for carrying out or approving a project. As the decision-making body for the California State University and the lead agency under CEQA, the CSU Board of Trustees has the authority and responsibility to ensure compliance with CEQA for projects it considers for approval. The responsibilities of the board under CEQA are to ensure environmental concerns are addressed as early as possible in the planning and environmental review process, and also ensure comprehensive, legally adequate CEQA compliance, including observance of statutory timeliness for the preparation, public notification, circulation, and completion of the environmental documents. The Chancellor's Office is tasked with supporting campuses and overseeing the preparation of the environmental documents by consultants and outside counsel is retained as necessary. If the Board of Trustees determines an environmental document, like an EIR, properly complies with CEQA, it certifies it adopts a mitigation monitoring reporting program that lists the required actions to reduce the impacts. And the board also adopts the findings of facts, which explain the reasons for each significant impact. And if applicable, the board adopts a statement of overriding consideration, which explains how the project benefits outweigh significant unavoidable impacts. Compliance with CEQA and approval from the Board of Trustees must occur to allow the project to proceed. There have been legal challenges to the CSU with compliance with CEQA, and the agenda item contains a summary of judicial actions that have concluded during the reporting period. The CSU works to ensure our review process and documents are procedurally correct, based on substantial evidence and science, and compliant with applicable case law. While the process can be lengthy, the efforts are to ensure staff recommendations to the board for project consideration and approval are sound and may be relied upon. I'll turn it over to, nope, not yet, sorry, one more. Next slide, to support campuses with CEQA compliance. A number of changes have taken place to assist with assessing and addressing environmental impacts of projects and complying with CEQA. This includes updates to the CSU CEQA handbook and the development of a transportation impact study manual in 2019. We also recently developed a quick start guide to climate action planning to assist campuses assess greenhouse gas emissions and develop a campus plan to achieve emission reduction targets. The guides incorporate model practices in CEQA and help to promote a common approach to CEQA across the 23 campuses. To streamline the campus procurement process, we continue to execute master enabling agreements for consultants and are currently processing new system-wide agreements to enable the campuses to develop transportation demand management strategies and mobility planning. The agreements are available for campus use to access experts knowledgeable in CSU practices and helpful given the complex environmental issues and potential impact on the local community. Now I'll turn the presentation back to Steve to conclude the item. Steve?
Thank you, Vi. So we hope the overview that Vi has provided has been helpful in providing context to the Board of Trustees about the CEQA review and decision-making process. Chair Carney, that concludes our presentation, and we're happy to address any questions.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Are there any board members, including committee members, but not exclusively committee members, who would like to comment or ask questions? I don't see any hands going up. Last call. Vi, I for one would really like to see the Quick Start Guide to Climate Action Plans. I think this is an area of great importance on our activities in this department. So, and if any other board member would like to see that, why don't you just let Vi or Steve know, and I'm sure they will email it to us. This was an information item, so this concludes the business of the Committee on Campus Planning, Buildings, and Grounds.
Thank you, Trustee Chair Carney.